Hello, everybody, and welcome to Value Demand. I am going to share my screen. It's interesting. There it is. Okay. Alrighty, here we are. Welcome to my computer. And dun, 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 doo, 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 doo. You guys get to see a one-man show right now. Eventually, this will have some support. So here we are, everyone. Welcome to Value Demand episode. It's actually episode 7. I'm gonna do this the right way, everybody. I am going to restart. Damn it. We were Natsuka, before you came in today, we were talking about the uniqueness of all of us humans. You guys are seeing my uniqueness. Okay. I did it. Actually, I can't do this. We'll figure this out eventually. I can't do one thing without doing the other. I must start by sharing. Now, all right. So here we go. All right. I, I think that's it. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Value Demand, the training program that uses appraisal guidelines and adjustments for a trade-up program that helps sellers sell for more money in less time. This is episode 7 today. It is not October 9th, it's November 20th. Woohoo! Yeah. So when you try to do a lot of things all at once, this is what you come up with. All right, everybody. So today we are going to talk about the presentation on pricing. And so we are in the 3rd week of the month, and that means that we talk about the presentation. And the part of the presentation we're going to talk about today is pricing. And the way we do pricing is we understand what the fair market value would be using appraisal guidelines and adjustments. And that's the first thing I teach anyone who wants to use or learn this system. And those 4 basic guidelines: distance, time, and condition, distance, size, time, and condition, and explaining those to sellers and buyers, particularly to sellers because we focus on listings, and then giving them a breakdown of the condition guideline. Once we do that, we talk about demand. So first, it's their value. And then, how do we create demand, which, by the way, is our value to them? That is why this program is called Value Demand, because those are the 2 things sellers care most about. What is my value, and how do you create demand as a service provider? And you first start by showing your expertise on pricing. Now you show your understanding of strategy and how to get your seller top dollar. And we start that by defining the system of supply and demand. Supply, in our case, is all the available homes within a given criteria. And demand is all the homes in escrow within a given criteria. And so part of what we do as an economist is show the guidelines or the criteria or how we parse out the information. Because if you just talk about the whole market all at once, well, you'd be talking about condos, homes, and it gets mixed up. our market right now has some very particular things happening, and being able to consult with sellers on that is really the highest level of service, information, and strategy. So this is the graph that we use to explain supply and demand and the pricing strategy. Are there any questions on this graph? Because I know sometimes when people first see this graph, they have some questions about it. But I just want to ask you guys, are there any questions? If you were going to present this, can you present this graph?
Um, so I'm gonna try to see if my understanding is correct. So
Great.
the fair market value when the when the demand is 100%, the fair market value could be the listing price. And
Other
then
way
when
around. You said that right, Natsuko, but flip it around. The listing price can be the fair market value.
oh, listing price can be the fair market value. Okay. And then when the demand is 70%, then the fair market value minus 5%, which is like 95% of the fair market value, would be the listing price to attract people.
Yep.
I think that that's my understanding.
Yep. That is correct. 100% correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great job, Natsuko. And would you guys add anything to that, or Natsuko can teach that part of the class now. And this is really important because each of us teach our clients. That is leadership, to teach and coach them into the right decisions. Now, we don't make their decisions for them. I still end up with listings that are priced too high. I've got one right now in Inglewood, right? And the house is a smaller lot. The house has some, condition issues with it. It was built in 1925. It's got a flat or a low pitch roof in part of the house. So that's really important. By the way, an interesting byproduct of making sure that you price where there's demand. We just came back on the market. We repriced. We were on hold for about a month, and the fair market value of that home still sits around 725. We came back onto the market at 649, and we had probably 25 parties through the open house, which was a very good thing that was a busy open house, because none of the buyers that walked in noticed the small stain on the kitchen ceiling that had just occurred because we had rain here in Southern California. Now, thank you, Jacob, for the eek. And there was starting to be a small little stain up on there, and not one person noticed it because they were all looking at each other, moving around each other. They were in a busy open house. But later, when one of the agents re-showed the property, they told me, "Hey, did you know that there was a stain in the ceiling?" I go, "Yeah, it was there for our open house." Okay, so we understand that. Here is how you get supply and demand with the Southern California matrix, the MRMLS. Is that correct? Did I get that right? CRMLS, that's it. Um, so you get the supply and demand by making sure you check all the active property and all the property that's in escrow. For us, that's active, under contract, and pending. The second thing in there is the price range. And I put a price range because right now in our market, 75% of the homes sell for 2 million and under. The luxury part of our market is the top quartile. So 25% of the homes roughly sell for 2 million, over 2 million. So 2000001, right? So over 2 million. But I want to concentrate on the stuff that's under 2 million. Then I'm also going to put a particular type of product. I don't want to mix in the condos with the homes. I just want to concentrate for my seller on what they have, either a condo or a home. And there are macro and micro markets. A macro market is a larger market. In this case, we're picking Orange County, California. I think all of us have sold in Orange County. And if you haven't, you're going to get a chance to show your county and then maybe your city. And then we're going to pick whether the property is attached or detached. That's because the legal definition, SFR, single family residential, is a designation that sometimes includes attached homes. And those would be like a townhouse. Sometimes a townhouse has an SFR definition. But for this, we're not saying anything with an association. Now, I could take out association, but there are some SFR with association. This matters because if you have a single family residential home and you want to build an ADU on it, you can. If you're in a community that's got CC&Rs, HOA, and you're attached to somebody else's property, there is a strong likelihood you will not be able to build an ADU or an additional dwelling unit or accessory dwelling unit. Any questions on this? In the future, when our friends from outside of our MLS area come and review these libraries, they're going to have fun figuring out how this applies to them. It's a really great exercise. You guys are lucky because we all deal with the same MLS, so I've done the work for you. They're going to still have to figure out how to use their MLS to parse the information. And they're also going to have to figure out how to get it into the CMA program that they use and then create the proper fields for those adjustments. All right, so once you get your list, in this case it was 1,750 properties, you're going to hit the stats button right there. And then that will give you a drop-down menu that won't be this big, but now you can see it clearly. And you just hit the tabular button, which I guess is a different way of saying tabulate. But and then once that comes up, there is a print option. And I just say print, and then I print it to, you can print it to whatever is easiest for you to use, say in Canva. And this is what you get. You get a basic market statistics sheet. And at the bottom here, you can see it shows the search criteria. I would always include that because that is a good reminder for you. And it's also a way for the client to verify you had parsed the information according to the understanding. And then you get the demand, which is 388, that is everything that is in escrow divided by the supply. Demand divided by supply. And in this case, that's a 70% ratio. That means you should price 5% below to get up to 5% above. Now, when I say this in a listing presentation, I will tell them it's strategy to find demand. In some markets, demand is there already. So when we were back in 2020, 2021, the demand was very high and you could just price at the fair market value and the demand was going to take care of it. Right now, the demand is lower, and because it's a softer market, you've got to find where you need to price to get multiple offers. Very interestingly, if you priced it at the fair market value right now, it would probably sit there for 30 days. And at the 30-day mark, you would probably end up with one buyer who makes you an offer, and they're probably not going to offer your fair market value. So you're going to start at a disadvantage. You're going to start negotiating with one buyer instead of 4 or 5 or 6. In the case of that Inglewood property that we had 25 parties come through, we ended up with 7 offers. Some of the offers that came in instantly came over list. We were listed at 649 and we had an offer at 670 and one at 715. Right after you show them the strategy, you need to show them the evidence of success. And in our listing presentation, I use this property on Segovia. You guys, I think have probably looked at some of the properties either that you've sold, or you can also look at other properties that have sold. It does not have to be your listing for the strategy to have worked. And this is really important because agents oftentimes price homes where they would like to price them when they show up to a listing presentation and say, Jacob, what do you think your house is worth? And Jacob might have an idea. Maybe he's looked at Zillow. Maybe the Zillow price was either too high or maybe it was lower than what it would really sell for under competition. And a lot of times when I show up to my listing presentation, somebody will say, well, that's why we wanted you to come. We don't really know. We know Zillow's not exactly right. And I look at Zillow and it tells me one number, Redfin tells me another number, Realtor.com tells me another number. I don't know what to believe. We know you're an expert in pricing, so you tell us. And then I usually say, well, if you had to guess, what do you think it's worth? And a lot of times they'll guess kind of the right number or maybe even a little lower. And then I move on to the fair market value of their house. I show them the fully adjusted CMA. And then I move through this presentation that I've just showed you. These maybe 2 slides, right? 3 slides, actually. One slide is on the pricing strategy. The next one is on where their demand sits. And then the next one is this slide, which is evidence of success. Do you guys have any questions about this?
Sorry, one question.
Yeah.
For this listing presentation, when you do the supply and demand, you don't narrow it down to your city
Appraisal
or
guidelines.
yeah, or like I know you want to see a little bit more macro, I
Yep.
f- right? So you don't really narrow it down to the city. You would use the Orange County.
I do. I just pulled up Orange County because I wanted to look at kind of the most um, the the largest part of the market and how it's
Mm.
moving. Our market in Orange County is moving different than our market in Los Angeles. I sell in both of those markets. I actually also serve San Gabriel Valley, the mountain communities, all over the place. My expertise is transferable. A lot of agents, their expertise isn't transferable because they don't understand appraisal and they don't look at supply and demand.
Thank you.
Every time I gesture, my hand gets raised. I'm just gonna leave it raised. Okay, so normally, Natsuko, what I would do at a listing presentation when I'm showing macro, I'm gonna look probably at a 2 or 3 mile radius, and I might also look at Orange County. I might pull all the numbers. And if they're sitting close to 2 million, I'm going to show them the difference. What if their fair market value comes in at $2,049,688, right? That's what they come in at, a very specific number. I'm going to show them probably a price range under 2 million, and I'm going to show them supply and demand for 2 million to say 2.5. So I might show them 1.5 to 2, and then 2 to 2.5, because I really want them to understand when they're priced in the luxury range, they have an instant problem. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like right now by going to our MLS. And this is criteria. I'm trying to remember what the last criteria I was just pulling. Right, this is the criteria for the luxury band of pricing between 2 million and 4 million. It's it's not that bad, 2 million to 3 million, by the way. If you look at 2 million and up, it's 30% demand ratio. That's very bad. If you look at 2 million to 3 million, it's almost 40%, which is almost 50%. So that's still in that 10% range. When you look in the 2 to 4 million range like this is what you get. Hit the stats button, tabular, and then it's going to jump up. So you take, well, let me ask somebody. Does anybody want to volunteer to do the math so people can see the math done live? I like volunteers.
I can do it.
Thanks, Court.
Let me see. 98 plus 92 divided by 540.
Yep. I always work my way up on our MLS.
35, you can't see it. 35%.
Yeah, 35%. So that's not great. And by the way, if you're selling a luxury house or you're a luxury agent that concentrates on luxury, you have a really rough road right now. You got to know that you're up against it. And really, it's because your demand is so low. It's not necessarily that there's a huge glut in the market. A glut means a supply side problem. This is a demand side problem. And the demand is low, and I have a hypothesis. But I'm curious if anybody else has a hypothesis. Why is the demand so low in the 2 million to 3 or 4 million range?
My hypothesis is that they are waiting for the capital gain tax to be gone. Like because when they might need don't they probably don't need to sell the current house, but if they want to sell the current house and then go to the next house, then
Oh, that's
um
interesting. Yeah,
current house might have a really huge capital gain.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah. No, I mean that could be the case. That couldn't that's not necessarily always the case though, but okay. Jacob, what about you? I'm kind of curious.
I know I can't afford it. I know my friends can't afford it. No one in
All
my
right,
family
all
can
right.
afford it. The
Shout
one I
out to
know can
Gen
afford it.
Z. I know. Yeah, yeah. I feel that, honestly. Respect. I don't know how you get your head off the pillow in the morning.
It takes a little while.
Yeah, all right. Anybody else? There's no move up buyer. Normally, somebody would be selling their 1.6 to 1.8 house and they're going to buy that 2.2 house. I mean, they might move up by as much as 20%, you know? Maybe the kids got a little older and they're finally getting to move to their dream house in Newport Beach or Laguna Beach or wherever, right? And they want to sell their house, but they're just like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can even sell it right now. You would think that now would be a great time for the wealthy to go buying houses. And they are, but they're buying in the under 2 million range. And they're at least here in Orange County and I think LA, all Southern California, which is itself a luxury market. We're a luxury market inside a luxury market on the coast in Southern California. compared to the rest of the United States. You know, New York, Chicago, parts of, Miami, LA, San Francisco, the places. It's where everybody goes, ooh, the price of homes. So those markets are still affected by the high interest rate because the recovery is going to happen from the bottom up, or at least from the middle up, maybe. And the people who do have money, they're giving it to their kids right now. The boomers are throwing some cash down to, the millennials. They're skipping over Gen X. They're like, nah. But Gen X are the ones that own the homes that would move up to 2 million right now and above. They're the ones that own the homes that are in that 1.4 to 2 million range, 1.5 to 2 million range. They rode the equity up, but they're not gonna be able to take that interest rate hike. So when the interest rate gets to 5.5, I think we'll see things start to shift a little bit. But for now, the luxury market is the toughest market to sell in. It's even harder than the bottom side of the market, which is that listing we just brought back on the market. All right. I'm going back to my presentation because here is our lab project. And I want to talk about it with you guys so you have plenty of time to figure out what it is you want to concentrate on. Each of us are in different markets. The Adams Group, we actually concentrate on Huntington Beach, particularly south of Adams. Our market really sits in kind of like a 1.2 to like a 1.8 range. That's sort of like the sweet spot for us selling homes. We do sell all over the place. I do sell, what would be considered the bottom of the market for single family residential, which is like, parts of LA, particularly this one in Inglewood. We priced it. The fair market value is around, 7.25, and we priced it at 649. So what market will you guys concentrate on? And you can concentrate on any market you want to. It could be homes, condos. It could be within certain price ranges, geographic. You're the economist. You control the vision, right? You parse the information. As you do the research, it's going to inform you, and you bring that perspective to your clients. It's all part of the strategy. Do you think sellers sit down with me and think they know more than I do? This is a crazy thing to say. Because when we sit down for listing presentations, especially in luxury markets, the seller thinks, I know as much about sales as this salesperson. I know as much about pricing as this salesperson, right? They think you're a salesperson and you're going to talk your way into it. They do not think that you are a market economist. Gary Keller said, be the market economist of choice. Which market do you choose? Yep, I'm waiting for you to choose. What do you want to look at?
I'm probably gonna focus more on the single family residences in my
Cool.
area.
Yeah,
So
nice.
probably from like 500 to 900 is probably where I'm sitting.
Great.
And then if I want to go luxury later, but let's get this one first.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Jacob, luxury is tougher right now because it's waiting for the middle to move, right? So concentrate on the middle. I agree with that. That's good. If you want to find the true middle, take out the top 25%, the bottom 25%. By volume of sales. Get rid of the top and the bottom, concentrate on the middle. That's a great choice. What about you, Natsuko?
For this lab project,
Yep.
right?
All you got
Um,
to do is run those numbers based on the
right.
presentation.
So what I would like to do is to compare because I've been struggling with the open houses. I think the demand for or supply for Irvine condo around 1.5 million is very saturated and not so
Totally.
much demand, or like supply is just too much compared to the demand. And then I would like to compare it with the single family home in the same price range in surrounding area of Irvine, like South Orange County or Costa Mesa, because I when I do, well, I usually do, 1.2 to $2 million range. But when I go to Irvine, because my office is in Irvine, and then the listings are, lots of listings are in Irvine.
Hmm.
When I go do those open houses, I sometimes get zero, good times like three, and
So you
then
get maybe three people through or three parties through.
three parties or sometimes just three people
Okay.
per open house per day, and and
How long are your open houses?
1 to 4
So
usually.
three hours. So
Mm-hmm.
if you get three people in 3 hours, you get an average of one person per hour.
Mm-hmm. And then
When,
sometimes those one person is Chinese speaking that I cannot even communicate.
yeah, yeah,
So
right.
so I would like to compare it with, like, I definitely feel the difference between Irvine and surrounding area. That's why I try to go outside, but I want to see that in number too. So I would do that.
Right. That's a great example of the total strategy that we use. If you price where there's demand, instead of having one person at a time in that open house, you end up with what we do, which is like, I don't know, how many parties did we figure in Seaport, Courtney?
Like 50, right?
Yeah, I think we had like 50 parties through. And we do our grand openings for 2 hours, not 3 or 4 hours. And so we averaged 25 parties an hour. And everybody stays at least 20 minutes to a half an hour. So I mean, the house is always packed. That makes buyers go, oh, if I'm interested in this house, Seaport was a total project, right? I mean, the demand ratio looked a little bit better. I think it was running at maybe 75 or 80% when we ran that on Seaport. And we could have priced it more like 5% below the fair market value. But because the house had had no renovation in like 50 years and the paint on the outside and inside was worn off, the carpet was worn down where you could see the binding in the back of the carpet, like there was no carpet in the carpet, and it was really, I mean, a deep fixer. So we priced it 10% below at 1 million 6, and we ended up selling it with I think 9 or 10 offers at 1,750,000. So that is the kind of open house I want to be in. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I think Natsuko, you're relatively newer in the industry, and so you've sold more buyers than you have sellers, more listings. And that's pretty typical. I mean, you got to go where there's work. And so you're going to the open houses now to try to find, the right people. But I think you might be better off knocking on doors than holding open house, because just from an hour of knocking on doors, I'll cover 50 doors, and I know that 10 people are going to answer for sure. So I get to have at least 10 conversations per hour. And, just based on the information you have now and how great a consultation you'll give to any seller you meet, those are the ones you want, because then that open house is going to be great. The thing about pricing where there's demand, you also corner the market on the buyers, right? They'll give you their contact information. You'll have more people to talk with, that's for sure. What about you, Stephanie? Do you have any idea of where you might want to look? I know that you have family kind of a little bit more inland.
Should I look into their area, like in Walnut?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Why not? Just as a point of comparison,
Yeah.
I think your leads are going to end up more like, coastal.
Yeah.
But I would look at it just to compare it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
How about you, Courtney?
I was thinking our area, south of Adams and maybe Big Bear.
Okay, just
Just
like,
see.
well,
Yeah.
you've seen what Big Bear looks like. Do you want to sell in Big Bear, Court?
No.
Do you want a new listing in Big Bear?
No.
Right.
I mean, I
That-
will if I get one,
yeah, of course, of
obviously.
course. Look, you,
But I'm not
another
trying.
another thing that we understand in Keller Williams is you service every lead. So I've sold, mobile homes, aka manufactured homes, and I've sold, multi-million dollar property. I service all my leads. And Courtney, you're going to service all your leads. I think you should start working on finding the right buyer's agent up in the mountain communities. Somebody you can call at any time to go show property for us.
I mean,
I
I know agents up there, so yeah.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. So you say you know agents, and I said find one. So my version of finding the right person.
Yeah, what does that entail?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. So that entails finding somebody who is motivated, willing, those two. Motivated means, yep, I want more, right? Or something. I want something. And willing is, I'll then do what I need to in order to jump up. I know the four of you are absolutely willing because you show up, right? So that's probably the first thing. And then, depending on their service level / experience, I would interview them. The ones you know. You can start with the ones you know and then move on from there. And maybe one, I would think at any point now, Courtney, any agent who meets you and finds out what you know is going to want to know you so that they can know what you know. That was fun to say. Courtney, do you know appraisal?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, for the most part. Right. You understand guidelines and adjustments.
Hmm.
Do you know how supply and demand works?
Hmm.
Do you understand the pricing strategy?
Hmm.
Could you explain this to family or friends?
Yeah.
Could you explain it to somebody who know, like, and trusts you?
Hmm.
Could you explain it to somebody who met you, is interested in what you have to say, but is not sure if you're the right person? Could you explain it to that person?
I think so.
Could you explain it to a hardcore skeptic?
Yes.
Cool. That's it. That's everybody, Courtney. You just passed. like slowly walked up. But because you know that, and I've now shown you what you know, I think any agent would be interested. So when I started, I didn't know. I was shown supply and demand by a Keller Williams agent who was like a gifted trainer and the top Keller trainer at the time, and this was like 2004. And so I took it on for myself, what I was going to learn. I made up the decisions on what numbers I was going to run. And I ran supply and demand numbers for the condo and the housing market, divided it up into 4 price ranges for both Orange County and Huntington Beach. And I would just write them on a piece of paper. I didn't even know Excel back then. And I would just, every week I did it. I think I did it on Monday, just like the Monday market. And I did that for, I don't know, 3-4 years. I did it 04, 05. Those were both very hot markets. And the minute that the demand shifted in 06, we didn't have a supply side problem. We had a demand side problem because the price had gotten so high, even with those really aggressive loans, we had reached a ceiling. And now some of those aggressive loans were starting to come into play, and people were then needing to sell. I actually did the first short sale in Huntington Beach in 2005. It started in 2005. I think it took me till mid 2006.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, please.
So when you do the supply and demand, I would like to also do it regularly. Do you recommend any days of the week? Because I know that like lots of listings go under contract like probably on Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know, but
Sure, you could do that. You could do, Wednesday stats. That's perfectly fine.
do you recommend any days?
No, I've never thought about that. Trying to guess when agents are getting around to putting it on pending is anybody's guess.
Right.
I mean, some agents leave it active for, you know, if you're me, oftentimes I leave it active until the earnest money deposit has hit
Mm,
escrow
right.
because I don't have a contract until that contract is ratified by the money.
Mm,
Um, some agents don't even put it into active under contract. They put it
right.
right into pending. Um, it's anybody's guess why they do that, but technically, pending is when it's in escrow and the contingencies are removed.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I just have to do every week on the same
Pick a
prop.
day, Natsuko.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. I think pick the day. Yeah, you're most likely to be relaxed. And
hmm
if you're gonna pick a date, you're gonna have to pick a time, right? So
Yeah.
like
I will do it
I wake
Monday
I wake
morning.
up I wake up early in the morning, usually by 6 a.m., but oftentimes it might be 4:30. So I'm gonna tend to do them early on. I'm just drinking my coffee. It's like for me reading the news, right? I'm reading the news of the market.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Natsuko, I'll just go through everybody. That way we're tied down to what we're actually going to do. Jacob, you said you're doing between 500 and 800 in your market area.
900.
900. 5 to 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 to 9.
Right. And what about you, Natsuko? I heard a couple things from you. Pick one that you're going to do for sure because you're going to come back with these numbers on Tuesday and you'll present them to us just like you see here.
I would do Irvine first because I have an open house on Sunday for Irvine.
Yeah, cool. Great. So you're going to do Irvine. Are you going to do it within a certain price range as well?
Yeah, Irvine 0 to 2 million, and I will do condos.
You're only going to do condos.
I'm So what I mean is that my open house for Sunday is 1.6 million attached condo.
Great. Yeah, so do that,
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, you might pick a couple $100,000 plus or minus your 1.6, go 1.4 to 1.8,
Right.
right? That condo market. While you're at it, Natsuko, you might also want to look at even bigger markets. So look at that
Mhm.
for Irvine, but then also look at it for all of Huntington. Because
Right.
what I know about our market, including Irvine and Orange County, is that someone might buy a home in Huntington Beach or they might buy it in San Clemente.
Yeah, right.
So they'll buy in different cities.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Steph, you're going to do Walnut, is that what you said? Just all of Walnut?
I was thinking of walnut, maybe diamond bar, but I think walnut for
Okay. Yeah,
now.
just do Walnut and then maybe
Huntington? Downtown Huntington?
no.
Okay.
I mean, just do one at first.
Okay.
I don't want you guys to do more, but I would like you to do the difference between micro and macro, maybe.
Uh, Okay, and then I'll just do where the area that I grew up, I guess.
Okay.
I'll figure that area out. I don't know.
Right. It could
Yeah.
be a county. It could be a radius.
Okay, because they're LA County, so that's
Yeah.
hard. Okay.
That's right. It is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
LA County, when I'm doing numbers on LA, I will price band it and also pull it to areas. The west side is different from the east side. The people who would buy on the east side won't buy on the west side. People who will buy on the west side won't buy on the east side. There's like a civil war going on in LA.
hmm
Not really, but sometimes you get markets like that.
hmm
Or one of the valleys, right? San Gabriel or San Fernando.
hmm
Different.
I'll do a 3 mile radius of the area that I grew up in.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're doing this too, just throw 5 miles in there just to get a look at it, Steph.
Okay. I'll do I'll do
What
five
about
miles.
you, Courtney?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do Big Bear.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
do 5 mile radius, like probably 5 miles and see maybe.
Yeah. Courtney, do you think you're going to sell more homes in Big Bear or
Huntington Beach, obviously, but I was just gonna I can
yeah,
do
yeah.
South Huntington if you think that's better. I just was gonna do this for fun because my
No, no,
house
no,
isn't
no, no.
as
Yeah. I mean, do whatever. I was just like, I don't know because I don't know what your database and social structure looks like in Big Bear still. I mean, we haven't talked about it really about because I mean, you moved here a while back, but you've lived in LA. You know, you've been all over the place. I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, I know where we concentrate. I know the doors that we knock and stuff like that, but.
Yeah.
And also I do those numbers, so you're sort of like you can take my numbers, right? But
Mhm.
I think it's really important for people to run their own numbers and really start to own them. I think that's really part of becoming an economist. If you want your clients to sell for the most amount of money, then you want them to price right and you want to understand supply and demand, and you must know the fair market value using appraisal guidelines and adjustments. When you do all those things for your client, you do all those things for you too. You stop being only a salesperson and you start being an expert in real estate. That's the goal. Any other thoughts?
When we're doing this, we're just doing this one sheet and then explaining it, right? There's nothing else we're doing.
Right. And if you do two, if you're doing like a micro market like Irvine and then a macro market like Orange County, right? Natsuko, you're doing like just the condo market in Irvine. Well, you should have something to reference it to. So maybe do all of the condo market in Orange County, or maybe it's just the luxury part. There's Santa Ana and Irvine actually touch in certain spots, but somebody who wants an Irvine address will not consider Santa Ana. They will not. It's like East Side, West Side in LA. Anything else you guys are curious about? I mean, are you guys curious about our market right now? What do we think is going to happen to that $2 million listing we're going to have, Courtney?
It's gonna sell fast.
I, I like it. That's good thinking. That's great. Good. What do you think's going on with that luxury market? I mean, is it going up or down? Is it getting better or worse?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question. I don't know exactly. I'm starting to have some ideas though. The middle in the luxury range of our luxury market, so coastal Orange County. Coastal Orange County is actually doing better than parts of LA, like the nice parts of LA. There's a little bit more of a supply side glut in LA than there is in Orange County, but we shall see. But there, where the middle is starting to move in Orange County, and it is creeping up. So maybe that's going to start to affect the 2 million and up range. I'm kind of curious to look at that 2 to 2.5 range. I've looked at the 2 to 3 range. Actually, I'm just going to do it right now just because we have a couple more minutes left. This is all of Orange County into the 2 to 2.5 range. So I threw closed into here too because I just wanted to see what was selling every 60 days. So 154, so about, 75. So if you divide 75 by the active, so the monthly by what's available, you get a sale ratio, right? Like how many months of inventory. That's another way people track, but that can get too muddled. It does not show the demand. So 154 divided by 2 is 77, divided by 198, which is what's active. Oops. So 198 rather, divided by 77. So you have 2.5 months of inventory about. And that number has been moving around a little bit, but what I really want to see is that we have 43 plus 44 equals 87 divided by 198. So that's 43%. That's much better than in the 30s. We're actually almost at 44%, 43.9. So let's call it 44. And then the next thing I'm going to look at is the price per square foot difference. So I'm going to look at the closed average of 884. and then the active average, 841. So the active price is actually going down compared to what's closed. But then when you look at the stuff that's in escrow, 822 and 828, let's just call it let's call it 825, right? So you divide 825 by 841, let's call it 842, because we're rounding up. And so that's like 97.9%, so about 98%. So that means that the active, what's available, is 2% higher than what stuff is going into escrow at. So this is also good information to share with the seller who thinks, oh, I'm priced right. Or can't we just price it at the fair market value? Well, if you priced it at the fair market value, how do you know the stuff that's in escrow, what it's being negotiated down to? And if you really want to have fun, you go back to the search criteria, scroll down, and look at the stuff that's 31 days or over on the market. And that's going to give us a different set of stats. So this is the stuff that was overpriced. That's the only way you can describe it. It took a month. It's been on the market for a month. So 132 properties have been on the market for a month, and 51. So that's 18 plus 33 equals 51 divided by 132. So that's 38%, right? That's given us a different idea. And you look at those properties, these are all homes that were on the market for at least 31 days or over. 766, 794 for the average square foot price, coming in just roughly around maybe 775, give or take, divided by 861. That's a 10% mistake. So understand there is a 10% pricing mistake that's going on in the 2 to 2.5 range. It's still, the homes that have been on the market 30 days or over, they're still on average priced 10% above the price of the homes that are going into escrow that are 31 days or over. Is this confusing at all? Jacob made a face.
Little fire hosey.
Okay.
Yeah, a
Little
little
fire
bit.
hosey. Thank you. Here at supply demand, or value demand, sorry. Here at value demand, we have a safe word, which is fire hose. In other words, I'm throwing out too much information with little hope of absorption. And it's 10 a.m. here on the Pacific time zone, so we're going to call it. But can you see, Jacob, where you actually have a pathway to start looking at the market and breaking it down in a valuable way so sellers understand, how hot the market is or how cold the market is?
Yeah, I would just take a lot longer because it's a lot of numbers to try and for me to look at and comprehend. Where you know where everything is, so you're like jumping through them really quick, and I'm like, wait, I'm still looking for the first number.
Yeah, you can actually go back and review this episode. Very fortunately, I'm getting everything loaded into the YouTube channel, and that you'll have access to that. So we'll get you going on that. But This is, over 20 years of me doing supply and demand stats. This is a long time, and there were markets where I ignored it for a while. Though I will say that once I really spent the time and absorbed the idea, I don't need to run numbers all the time anymore. I just do spot checks and I'm like, oh, that's the market. Wherever I am, Inglewood, Big Bear. I mean, Courtney, you saw it the minute we consulted with your sellers on Big Bear. I'm like, well, the demand is seriously low. You should not price 10% below the fair market. You should price how low below, Courtney?
Didn't we say like 20?
20%. Yeah. You know what? We ended right back up around the fair market value. That's the good news. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. See you later. Sorry for the fire hose. Sorry, not sorry.